do an entire podcast on
Pot pie soup.
turkey pot pie soup. Pie-pocalypse 2024. Who knew this was such an issue facing humanity? Fuck. Anyway. What's going on in your world, Jimmy?
Going to Jennings next weekend.
You?
Track day, 44 to 62 degrees.
That's gonna suck.
Yep.
I wouldn't even go.
Oh, well, I've already paid, and...
Yeah, but you're not gonna have fun, and you're gonna have cold tires the whole time.
Kate, Nick, Eric, and Destiny are all going, and I'm transporting 2 other people and 2 other bikes, so I have to go. I have heat in the trailer, though.
That doesn't help your tires.
The pavement is really grippy. You've been to Jennings, right?
Once.
Yeah, it's like super grippy.
It's still... I don't know. To me, I would prefer to not do... Let's see. Engine noise.
Yeah, so a lot of people that I've noticed... not a lot. Actually, a few people, they're very seasonal, and it depends on the season. Like, some people are spring riders on track. Very few people are summer riders on track. And then there's cold weather, people as well.
No, you don't have the gear for it.
What, warm weather? Cold weather.
For cold weather?
Yeah, I just throw on some rain gear.
I don't know, man.
Over the leathers.
At those speeds, the wind chill is going to be horrible. I'm thinking it's not going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I'm thinking that too.
You're going to be cold as fuck. There's going to be no grip. You're only out there for a short period of time. Getting the grip this is where you should be using sport touring tires. Honestly, on a colder day, your tires don't get up to operating temperature until they're like, 180, 185? Something like that.
I don't know.
It's high. Q5s or whatever you got?
I literally thought it was 120.
No, the Michelin, like the Road 6s, their optimal operating temperature's down at like 135 or something. So you'll actually, in cold weather, you'll actually get better grip sooner on the...
on the Michelins.
Yeah, because you're going to be out... You don't have tire warmers, right?
Nope.
So you're going to be out there for 20 minutes. Just about the time they almost get to temperature, you're going to shut it down and let them cool back off again. And if it's a high of 40s, it means you got lows in the 30s.
No. It's the low 44, and then the highs are 62.
Oh, all right. That's not horrible.
No, it's not too bad now.
But still, you won't get 62 till probably mid-afternoon.
Yeah, about like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I've done a couple cold track days at Road Atlanta where we got there and everybody's water bottles had frozen during the night. And going down that back straight at $160 and 36 degrees. Yeah, really fucking horrendous. I put on all kinds of shit over my leather suit, and then I had my winter almost like snowmobiling gloves. I couldn't feel the freaking controls. That's the only way I could keep my hands from icing up.
Yeah, that's another thing. Your hands are gonna get cold, and
you get cold and stiff, and it slows your reactions down. It's like it's not good. No bueno. No bueno.
So, turkey pot pie soup.
On the outside chance that Donna watches this, she's gonna be all pissy about it.
I'm just saying the name is misleading. I really wanted to have a conversation about this so that I could understand. Like, I just forget it.
It's interpretation. Soup is a generic thing.
Right.
It's like saying dog. Okay, it's a type of animal, but you have all these variations that all qualify as dog. Right? So soup is the same way.
And I'm saying that if it's turkey pot pie soup, you would expect that the soup would have crust in it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. So it should be called turkey pot soup.
Well, not even that. I think it's just creamy turkey soup.
No.
I don't know. I'm just like, I thought it was a simple question, and I thought it made sense. I looked at turkey pot pie recipes, and a whole bunch of them had dumplings or biscuits or some kind of bready thing to simulate the crust that would be missing, because obviously it's not mine.
In it. Oh, God. What time's dinner?
For anybody watching this doesn't make sense to you why the fuck we're talking, but don't worry about it. It makes sense to us.
Yeah. We'll just get in trouble if we say.
So,
anything in the news?
well, I see suddenly Democrats are all worried about the prices of food and goods and tariffs. Suddenly the prices of things matter. Oh my God, the tariffs are going to drive prices up. And I think most people don't understand the real power of tariffs. The power of tariffs is not putting the tariff on. It's the threat of putting a tariff on something, right? And I'll give you this example. Back under the Clinton days, Janet Reno ran the Department of Justice. Rabidly anti-gun. She did not believe that the right to own a firearm, the right to bear arms, had anything to do with individual citizens. She felt that referred to the military, because it said militia. It didn't matter that there was no militia or there was no military at the time, no army. It wasn't a thing. The actual armed services came later. At the time, the army was the militia, which was just anybody who was able to hold a gun and march to battle was called upon and conscripted. Also didn't matter to her that the Bill of Rights deals exclusively 100% with individual rights, not collective rights. So her application and her thought of the Second Amendment only applying to people in the military or militia would be like, well, you only have the freedom of speech if you're a member of the press. You only have a freedom of religion if you're part of a recognized religion. You're not allowed to have your own personal beliefs that are outside of the group. And of course, nobody would ever accept that interpretation, right, of any other right in the Bill of Rights. But for some reason, she believed that the second, for some magical reason, was the only one that would be interpreted that way. So this is her perspective of where she's coming from. Her Department of Justice put out a report, and it was like 800 or 900,000 times a year of defensive uses by civilians with a firearm. And only I think it was 92% of them were effective in stopping or preventing the crime without the firearm being discharged.
Oh.
That's where I'm going with this. So the majority of the defenses of uses of, and other estimates estimated up into the millions, but even taking someone who was absolutely over the top, retarded anti-gun, admitted that it was like 900,000 times a year, but that most of the time the gun did not have to be used. 9 out of 10 times, slightly more than that. And that's the biggest benefit of in this case, defense with a gun, is the fact that you have deadly force in hand and ready to use ensures that most of the time you won't have to actually use it. And so I look at tariffs the same way. It's not that, oh, we're just going to put tariffs on everything. No. The fact that you might put tariffs on something will get the other person to the bargaining table. Say, whoa, hold on. If you put a 200% tariff on things coming out of China, China has the money and power it has because it manufactures everything for the world, right? They have this amazing labor force. They got a lot of natural resources. Well, that only works if people buy their fucking products. So all the countries that they make the products for have to actually pay them for those products, and consumers have to buy them. Otherwise, they got no money. They got a bunch of widgets and iPhones and no one to buy them. So the idea of smacking them with tariffs, they don't want that. That would crumble their economy. President Xi is in power only because the people let him be in power because they all got money and life is fairly good as it can be in a communist country. second that stops and people are out of work, you have revolution. They're going to take him out, vote somebody else in. So President Xi does not want that. Neither does Putin, neither does Mexico, neither does Canada. And so Mexico and Canada are already meeting with Trump, saying, hey, how can we kind of work something out? I heard something about tariffs, and yeah, that doesn't really work for us, so how do we find some middle ground? And Trump's like, good, let's talk. It's a bargaining tool. It's the threat. It's the having the gun, but the restraint to not use it only unless you have to. And it works. It works a lot. Watching videos of Kevin O'Leary, Captain Mr. Wonderful, talking about, he's like, I do a lot of business in China. They're cutthroat. They steal our intellectual property. They copy it, sell it back over here cheaper under a different name. They get around the counterfeit laws. And we're not allowed to take them to court in their country. Their courts will not allow our lawsuits. They just ignore it. But they'll come here and use our courts to sue us. He's like, this is very lopsided. And China has to be put on the defense. And they're doing what they're doing because our current leadership has been weak. And that it just lets them do whatever they want.
I agree.
So that's everyone's freaking out about tariffs and oh my God, what's going to do to prices? Well, 3 weeks ago you didn't give a shit about prices. You didn't give a shit about the cost of, if you're a liberal. You said, oh, it's a fake crisis. It's not a big problem. The price of eggs isn't too much. It's not this. Now suddenly you're worried about the price of things. Thoughts, Jimmy?
You know what? I was gonna go away from China and talk about, or ask you about Mexico, and I know a lot of car manufacturers are in Mexico.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen with that? Because he did say he was gonna slap high tariffs on vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping the jobs go back to Detroit, and then the people that came from Detroit go back to Detroit. So we're Michigan, so we have less traffic.
Well, again, it's less about the actual tariff and it's more about the threat of tariffs. Every other country uses tariffs, and we do use tariffs in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
So people make it sound like tariffs is this evil thing that, oh my God, I can't believe he would resort to this. Why? They do it on our stuff.
They take advantage of us all the fucking time.
Most countries do, because we're stupid and we're big and dumb in a lot of ways, and we're like, okay. And it's not until you get a businessman who does business with these countries and knows intimately how they work and what buttons to push and how to leverage things and get them to come to the negotiating table.
So, do you think the jobs will leave Mexico and go back?
I think there'll be something in the middle. I think what they'll find is some things Mexico is going to be willing to cave on, and they're going to be willing to help out. The president of Mexico has already said that they would help with stopping these migrant caravans from cutting through their country to hit our southern border. So they're already coming to the bargaining table just because they're afraid. Think what you want about Trump. If he says, I'm going to do this, they're like, shit, he might actually do it. That's why Putin stopped invading Ukraine and why the Middle East calmed down and North Korea calmed down when Trump was in office. Because they were like, I don't know what this fucker's going to do. He might actually do something crazy or take military actions or cut off our money or, whatever. And so, with him back in the saddle, I think the world's like, oh, it's no different than when you've been in school. What happens when the substitute teacher comes in? What happens to the climate in the classroom?
I guess it becomes a little lax.
Little lax. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. You go as far as you think that you can go.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, sorry, I'm just playing with my settings here.
Wow.
All right, let's do that. Let's go to touring mode. Oop, not that one.
was hoping that
Not
like
be quieter. But then
Yeah.
if some dick comes up in a Hellcat wants to race, I can push the Z button and instantly be back in race mode.
I was hoping they'd close the factories there and just give the jobs to Americans.
No, I mean, the thing is we have to get along. Like, I think jobs will absolutely come back. Some, but we don't need them all to come back because there's a balancing act. It does cost a lot more money to do business in America.
It does.
And Americans don't want those higher prices. That's why Walmart and everybody moves shit to China to begin with, right? So there has to be a balancing act between bringing some jobs back and controlling our destiny a little bit more because it's in-house, and being less reliant on another country going, you know what, we're not doing that anymore, and we're left scrambling on how to get food or whatever it is, you know, minerals for steel for buildings, whatever it is we're getting.
China and medicines. And
Yeah, all the raw materials for
yeah.
medicines and stuff. Yeah, I mean, China's very, very rich when it comes to natural resources. So that's where I'm like, you got to find some middle ground. Some things it will make sense to have Mexico or Thailand or whatever, or China, manufacture or provide. And that's okay, as long as there's a give and take. If it's we do all the giving and they do all the taking, that works great for them. It's not great for us. And that's where you have to strike that balance point.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, there's certain things that make sense to do around the house yourself. And then there's certain things where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to hire someone who actually does this for a living to make sure it gets done right.
Oh, it's me.
Go away. Oh, that's so unprofessional that you're not muted.
I can't even like get to it.
Dude, we're on the air.
Um,
Just push it to voicemail, dude. So, yeah, anyway.
we're on here.
So all these people, oh, the tariffs are going to do this. Shut up. The tariffs are going to be a lot less than people think, and he's going to use them to apply pressure. It's a negotiating tactic. You know the saying, si vis pacem parabellum, right? Heard it in John Wick, well, it's been around a lot longer than that. If you desire peace, prepare for war. Other folks would say it as speak softly but carry a big stick. Peace through strength. All of those things are all a core concept of have the strength to have the leverage. Don't be a bully. You don't have to use it when it's not needed. But sometimes the best offense is a good defense, right? Those are all variations of this mindset of have the tool to where if you have to pull the trigger and do the job, you have it available.
Well, let's go back to medicine real quick.
Okay.
So they make all the medicine over there, most of the stuff. So are we gonna? Do you think we'll have manufacturing here for those things so we're not reliant on China?
We do a lot of manufacturing here.
Okay.
Merck, Bristol Myers, I mean, a lot of those companies, I believe, are based here, or at least have large manufacturing here. Like up in New Jersey, there's a lot of pharmaceutical manufacturing companies. But we get a lot of the raw materials, a lot of the minerals from them that make the medicines. So,
I thought the whole thing comes from them. Like
no,
the
I mean,
pills and everything.
I'm sure some does.
And masks and syringes and
A lot of that stuff probably does, because again, it's just injection molded plastic and things. As long as it's made right and it doesn't leak or break, you know what I mean? If it costs twice as much to make it here as it does over there because of labor costs. You know, that's a balancing act too. Everyone talks about, oh, you gotta have unions. Unions are good in some ways, they're bad in others. Unions are, and you know, oh, they got me a raise, they got me a pension. Those are good things. I would want to have those. But there's again, everything's about balance. There's a tipping point. If you negotiate or get the wages up to a certain point, you do price yourself out of the market. Because consumers, at the end of the day, aren't going to be willing to pay that. It's not like, oh, just take it out of the company's profits. That never happens. You raise taxes, they raise their prices. You raise the cost of labor, they raise their prices. They cut back on services. They cut back on benefits. Like, a company's going to adjust and ultimately pass that on to us, the people buying their goods and services. So when the union reps get a raise, who pays for it? It's not the company. It's you and I. When the taxes go up on that company, who pays it? It's not the company. They just raise their prices and pass it on to us. We pay it.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to like cap like CEOs' pays and stuff.
I don't believe
percentage.
in that. I don't believe that.
Well, it used to be like back in the day, like I don't know, it's like 1920s or whatever. It used to be 10%. Your employees.
Why would you be a CEO to make 10% more than the guy sweeping the fucking floor? Why would you go through the stress, have the responsibility, work 70 hours a week, traveling all around, dealing with investors, dealing with the media, all the things that a CEO of a big company does? And then, well, they don't do anything. They just sit there. You're an idiot, and that's why you're poor. You don't know what a CEO does. No, I mean, seriously, you don't know what it takes to be at that level of success. They think, well, you just sit there and collect a check. It's a very involved, very stressful job that demands results. If you don't, you're out. Oh, but they get a golden parachute. Well, that's in the contract. They negotiate and say, hey, if you fire me, and if you want that guy or that woman because you think they're going to get a good job, you're going to sign that contract. And you're going to hedge on your bet and say they're going to deliver, and occasionally they don't and they get their payout anyway. It is what it is. It's the same way with a lot of your big name athletes. Now maybe as a new athlete that hasn't proven himself in the NFL yet, if he breaks his leg and he's out, maybe he doesn't get paid. But the guy that's been there, you know damn well that if Tom Brady broke his shoulder halfway through the season, they don't cut off his pay. He still gets paid, even though he's no longer delivering. So those kinds of contracts are not unusual in the business world. But who's going to go and do that job and have that kind of stress? Or I could punch a clock 8 to 5 and leave my work at work and go home for only 10% less? No one's going to take that. No one's going to take the CEO job for 10%.
It's still stressful. All jobs are just stressful.
They may be, but
because of
do you think
life.
The guy sweeping the floor or the girl pushing the buttons on the register is anywhere near as involved or demanding or as stressful as being the CEO?
I don't know. I've never been a CEO.
Well, then maybe you should talk to people who have and ask them, hey, is your job easy? Because if it was, everybody'd be a fucking CEO.
Well, let's not run down that rabbit hole. I wanted to go back to Ukraine. You'd said that Ukraine's not getting bombed anymore?
No, I said they weren't during Trump. Russia, that was the difference. Because they were doing it under Obama. And then Trump came in and Putin was like, we're going to pull back a little bit. And it wasn't until Biden's horrific withdrawal from Afghanistan, just completely dropping the ball, leaving our people behind, where Putin looked at him and said, this dude's a fucking joke. We could do whatever we want. This guy, he ain't gonna do anything about it. And we didn't.
So, now that you've said that, I think maybe I've got like a different scenario what's going on. Like, look, for instance, Obama could be wanting to expand or help NATO expand into Ukraine. And then that's why they were getting bombed. Trump came in, and everybody knows Trump doesn't even like NATO. And they stopped. But then Biden came in, and then they wanted to accelerate that whole Ukraine into NATO thing.
Ukraine has You've used the whole Cuban Missile Crisis thing before.
I have.
Okay. Cuba, run by Castro. Cuba, communist. Russia, during the Cold War, is an aggressor, wanting to put a missile battery of nukes 70 miles off of our shore in another country. NATO is not the same thing. NATO is a defensive posture. NATO is a bunch of small countries with relatively weak militaries that say, hey, look, we're part of a union. If you attack one of us, you attack all of us. That's what NATO's doing. That's what NATO's charter is. That is all NATO has ever done. NATO is not an aggressor. NATO is not a offensive posture. It's a strictly defensive posture. And if a country who earned its independence, like Ukraine, says, hey, we want to join your union, We got this guy on the other side of us grumbling about putting the damn USSR back together. We don't want to go back to bread lines and toilet paper lines and horrible communism. We actually enjoy capitalism and we're flourishing. We don't want to go back to those dark days. Can we join your group? And Putin's answer to that is, oh, I'm going to start bombing you and kill a couple million of your people. Putin's not a nice guy. He doesn't have... There's nothing defensive in, oh, I'm doing it to protect Mother Russia. No, you're not. You're trying to put the USSR back because you feel he has gone on record saying that the USSR coming down and the wall coming down was the greatest political travesty of the last century. He doesn't think that should have happened. He wants to go back to the Cold War days. And these other countries are like, the Cold War sucked. Nobody won. It was poverty. We had horrible lives. Our life expectancy was less. Like, we now have freedoms and access to the West and technology, and we can afford cars now. Like, we have internet. Like, we got Pornhub. You know, whatever. They're not
Russia?
going... Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, they don't want to go back to those days. And so, Ukraine's going, well, how can we prevent that from happening? Well, what if we're a NATO member? That opens up economic channels. Maybe they could be a NATO supplier of agriculture, you know, whatever it is. They could be there's all kinds of benefits to them.
Maybe they could put missiles 70 miles from Russia's border.
Again,
Difference.
do you think Ukraine has goals or aspirations to invade and take over Russia? Do you think Sweden and Finland and Latvia are going to take over Russia because they're members of NATO? Belgium? I think Belgium's going to go take over? No. They are a shield wall. It's like when people are, you know, everyone's talking about gun control and a bunch of states are trying to ban bulletproof vests. Bulletproof vests are defensive. I can't kill you with a bulletproof vest. I can hopefully keep you from killing me. But they want to make those illegal. Why? It's no different. NATO is a shield. That's literally all it is. We're all members. You fuck with one of us, you fuck with all of us. Leave us alone, and no one's ever had a problem with NATO. So it's only a problem of Ukraine joining NATO. Russia should only have a problem with that if Russia had aims to take over Ukraine. Because now they're like, well, if it's just Ukraine, I could do that. Although it hasn't proved as easy as he thought it would be. But if he's like, if I got to take on Europe and the U.S., well, that ain't going to happen. So of course Russia's not happy about that. But that is different than your enemy. Russia and Ukraine weren't enemies. They're only enemies now because Russia tried to take them over and bring them back into the USSR. Ukraine's happy to just be left alone and get along with and do trade. Half the people in Ukraine are Russians and vice versa. So they have a common language and culture. They went back and forth.
So what do you think is going to happen in January when he gets back in office? What do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to get Zelensky and Putin back to the damn negotiating table. And I think there's going to be talks about how do we find some common ground here.
Yeah, but I think a couple of the things is that Ukraine's going to have to give up land and not join NATO.
I don't know. It's not like I'm an expert on foreign affairs and geography. You know, I don't know, but
It's just rumblings on Twitter/X. Ouch! What was that?
that's the when you're in Turing mode, it goes into 4-cylinder mode.
Oh.
God, this is the noisiest fucking pavement. It's so loud. And part of it's these shit run flat tires.
Oh, you didn't get rid of them yet?
No, because they actually stick pretty well. They're just loud as hell.
Gotcha.
And when you're on this kind of pavement, like all I can hear now is just road noise.
I gotta get new tires for the truck soon. In at least the next 10,000 miles.
Yeah, I'll probably get another 5 or 8 out of these. Yeah, let's hopefully get to some better pavement. Let's cut our talking down a little bit so maybe I can... Yeah, see the difference?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh.
Damn it. is, it's crazy how much noise it comes off these tires.
Yeah, we should have talked about the pot pie.
Let's go back to the fucking pot pie controversy of 2024. I think the pavement. Whoa! It's flinging rocks at me.
Freaking Hyundai or Honda.
It's a Honda.
Yeah, Element.
Come on, pavement. I want to get back to podcasting. I'm just afraid that if we're not facing the camera, you're not going to hear much with all that road noise.
Yeah.
I think it's got in the app I can do voice isolation, maybe enhancement. That might help.
Enhance.
Yes.
Enhance.
Yes. Take this
Funny.
blurry, light bright looking picture and turn it into 8K.
I watched Super Troopers the other night. Super Troopers, the other guys, I bought both of them on Blu-ray.
Of course you did.
Yeah. And Clockwork Orange. I shouldn't have started with Clockwork Orange.
So, anyway, I think Trump is going to absolutely. I mean, again, you look at what's going on in Gaza and Israel. Well, under Trump, they were signing the fucking Abraham Accords. Like, everyone talking about how he's so divisive. Hold on, wait for it. Noise. Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
So wait. Nice pavement.
That's funny.
You know, they're signing peace treaties and shit under Trump.
Yep.
One of the first things we're going to, that's going to impact Russia is Trump's going to get rid of all the Biden shit that got rid of the fucking pipelines and stuff. We're going to start pumping up more of our own, get the pipelines going again, which means we won't have to buy as much oil from Russia and China,
Right, but
which is going to cost them billions a month.
Weren't those pipeline, the XL pipeline, wasn't it just a pipeline from Canada to go to the port?
Something like that. I don't know.
We probably get some percentage of that, so.
Point is we got to get more of the oil flowing and staying here and stop importing as much from the other countries.
Right.
Because then they're going to. The best way to, honestly, in today's world, the best way to influence another country is not with nukes and guns. Those help. There's a time for that. But it's the pocketbook. It's your money. If your people are wealthy or doing okay and have money, they tend to be docile and easy to control, and they let you stay in power. When the people are hungry and angry, as a leader, you got a problem on your hands. So, using finances, stop buying oil from them, put the sanctions back on Iran. It was no miracle that as soon as Biden gave $6 billion to Iran, that all of a sudden Hamas is flush with cash and weapons and declaring war on Israel.
And then flying those, I don't even know what they're called, those parachute things right into
A concert.
right into a concert with a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I mean, all this insane stuff. That was not an accident. That wasn't just a blind coincidence. No.
It was because of the money.
Yeah, when we put the screws to Iran financially, they kind of kept themselves, as much as they're going to, in check. And as soon as Biden said, hey, everything's over, it's back to normal, here's your money, all of a sudden we got a fucking war in the Middle East.
Right.
In addition to the war going on in Europe. It's like...
And you know what pissed me off about the whole election shit? And people were like, well, you know, I'm gonna vote for Harris because of abortion. I'm like, dude, 1 million fucking people died in the entire world and you're worried about a fucking abortion? Fuck you. That pissed me off.
I know. I see it. Everyone, every liberal, every time they lose an argument, they put up a meme of The Handmaid's Tale. That's their answer to everything. And it's like...
And then they call it bodily autonomy and losing rights.
Yeah, like, what right have you lost? Well, this state has already restricted abortion, so change the law. If that's the law in your state, it's because the majority of the people in your state elected people that are anti-abortion. You can change that. But these are my rights. I'm
Here's a coat hanger.
Free coat hangers.
Fuck.
No, but think about it. People are like, well, these are my rights. Show me in the Constitution where it says if you, not for rape and incest, we're not even talking about that, which is only like 1 out of 10. Most people get abortions for convenience.
Right.
Which I'm fine with, but admit it. They get it for non-medical, non-rapey, or non-incesty reasons.
It's a form of contraceptive to them.
To some
I
people,
went out and partied last night.
Yeah, so you abort 600,000 babies in the U.S. alone per year for convenience, and then there's a couple thousand from rape and other things. Okay, that doesn't exist anywhere in the law as a right. You can say it's a right, but you know what is a right? My gun rights. Yet there are states like New Jersey and California, Hawaii, Delaware, that Illinois, severely restrict my gun rights, despite it being in the Bill of Rights right at the fucking top. It's number 2. So what do? I move to a state that doesn't, that has the laws that people move from state to state for job opportunities, better weather, to retire, so there's less tax, an income tax in Florida. People move to different states for a bunch of reasons, because different states offer different lifestyle, standard of living, gun rights. Why wouldn't abortion be on that list? If your state passes abortion or it says abortion's illegal, and you campaign and they put it to a vote on the ballot and 68% of the people come back and say we don't want it, well, that's the will of the people. That's not the Handmaid's Tale. That's no different than New Jersey restricting my gun rights and saying you can't have a carry permit, even though the Constitution says you have the right to keep, to own or possess, and to bear arms. Bear arms means carry. I come bearing gifts. I have it on me. You carrying a gun right now?
Yes.
As am I. Why? Because America. That is a constitutional right. But I can't, right now, we can't get in the car and drive to New Jersey or New York.
Or Hawaii.
Or Hawaii. Yes, we can't drive to Hawaii. Good point. Or, I see what you did there. So do I whine about it? No. I just choose not to live in those states because they don't offer me the things that are important to me. But people think, well, but abortion should somehow be different. It's like if I have to resort to moving to enjoy a right that is constitutionally guaranteed to me because that state says, yeah, we don't care. We're just not doing that. We're not doing that whole We're not doing that whole Bill of Rights thing. So I leave. I move to a state that has it.
Right. Yeah,
but the thought of people going, I got to move because I want abortions.
It's not the easiest thing to move.
I'm not saying it is, but I did it. I didn't want to live in New Jersey anymore. Gun rights, taxes, cost of living.
Abortions.
Those 3 things. Housing price is insane. Tax is insane. Who wants to pay $1,000? People are bitching about a $2,000 a month mortgage. Well, imagine living in a state where you could be paying $1,000 to $2,000 a month just for the property tax that's added to the mortgage, and the houses cost 40% more than the same house down here.
Right.
My house up there would be a $4,500 a month mortgage.
Yeah,
I'm not buying that. I can't afford that.
I don't see the allure in living in a place like New York, New Jersey, or California.
If you were born there and grew up there and you bought a house years ago to where you have an expensive house now to sell, to buy a new house, but to move to North Jersey right now, unless you're moving from California and you got shit tons of money, it's really hard to do. That's why those states are losing people.
They are losing people.
And that to me is like, I just, but people are like, my abortions. It's like, and then they take the tact of, well, the guy should have kept it in his pants. Well, unless it was rape, you should have kept your legs together. Like, the idiocy of liberal women is boundless. Honestly, well, it's the man's fault that he didn't wear a condom. Well, you didn't make him. Unless you were raped, you had a say. You got a $1,000 iPhone, but you can't pay $15 a month for the pill? Really?
This all started with war.
With what?
This whole conversation started with war. Millions of people died under Biden, and people voting for it and voting for abortion. I just
Dude, it's crazy. And I get that the abortion issue is important to people, but
why is it more important than the millions of people who've died the last 4 years in these wars?
because it's emotional.
Oh my
It's
God.
emotional
Yeah?
because a woman who got knocked up because she was careless, which is the majority of unwanted pregnancies are through poor choices. Oh, I was drunk. Oh, I thought he'd pull out in time. Oh, I forgot to take my pill.
She didn't swallow.
Yeah, most of the time, unwanted pregnancies are because the woman was careless. And even
Right.
when they say, oh, well, the guy could have worn a condom, the girl could have said, no, I'm not banging you. We'll do it tomorrow night. Go get condoms. But she said, okay. And then she's got a kid on the way. And she is looking at it saying, I don't want a kid for 18 years. I don't want to be saddled with this. I'm not ready for this. I have a career. I'm in college right now trying to get my degree, and this is going to derail my life. I get that argument. Those are, in my mind, those are all good reasons to have an abortion. I'm fine with it.
I think, is it another way of saying, I mean, the difference between war and then the abortion thing is that they're just being selfish.
The war is a hypothetical. It's an abstract to them because it's other people on the other side of them. It's faceless people on the other side of the world.
And they've never seen war and devastation.
No,
and
exactly.
destroyed
They read
buildings
about it
and
on-
dead people on the side of the road.
Yeah, they read about it.
Yeah.
But the idea of my life as I planned it is over because I'm going to have a kid, which means I can't finish college, which means I can't pursue that career, which means my outcome in life is going to... I get all that. Then just say that. Don't make it, oh, it's my right, it's reproductive health. It's none of those things more than 90% of the time. It's you just didn't want that life and you got careless and you got pregnant as a result. Just admit that. Most people would go, okay, they may not agree with the argument, but they would sure as shit understand it. Because it is a logical argument. Someone's having to make a life choice about what they want out of life. But to sit there and say like, oh, if Trump's president, I have no control over my body. You do. You have a control. In most states, you can still get an abortion. And you have a control most of the time of whether you get pregnant or not. Pregnancies, other than rape, are 100% preventable. Well, the condom could break. If you go on the pill, the chances of you being on the pill and a condom breaking at the exact same time and that one sperm getting past the condom and past the pill and getting impregnated is like winning the fucking lottery. I'm not saying, oh, you got to wait for marriage or sex and only use it for procreation. I'm just saying, in today's world, you can do a telemedicine doctor thing on the internet and get a pill prescribed to you, and you can have it delivered to your house from frickin' Amazon for $20. There is no excuse not to take advantage of these things. And if you do, and you just like, well, if I get knocked up, I'll just have another abortion, that's a shit argument.
Mm-hmm.
And saying that the world's going to end because Trump is president, just stop. Jimmy, just stop.
Oh, Jesus. I wanted to go into something else, too.
Well, we got time. I'm
Yeah.
just checking to see if this jewelry store is open on Sundays. They're normally not, but I was curious if they were going to have Sunday hours.
I thought you were going to, like, the donut shop or something. Did you want to get, like, barbecue on the other side if it's open?
You talking about the, what are you talking about?
Oh, that barbecue place that's on the other side of Blood Mountain.
Are they open today? I don't know.
So,
Does it look like there's people in
nah,
there?
it's closed.
Well, they are normally. I just don't
I
know.
think it's that thing on over the glass. The gate's closed.
Yeah, it's not the open night.
So what have you been reading about, like Tom Homan and those? I think there's like 2 states that are against the deportation.
Yeah, Colorado, Denver,
yeah.
who just reported that they are spending over 1/3 of $1 billion per year of taxpayer money to take care of illegal immigrants, and they don't think it's a problem. And they're like,
so crazy.
and they don't understand why people are pissed. It's like, well, people can't afford eggs and can't afford gas and can't afford their rent, but you have 1/3 of $1 billion in one city to give away every single year to people who aren't even supposed to be here.
Illinois.
And then they wonder why there's this backlash and Trump gets back in office. It's like, it's this dumb shit. How do you not get that? How do you not read the room and realize that people are fed up and pissed off of you putting illegal Mexicans, illegal immigrants over your own citizens?
It's so freaking weird because that's what they do, but it's our tax money. Literally robbing the poor to give to the illegals.
Well, they're not robbing the poor. The poor don't have anything to rob. And, the poor don't pay taxes.
They know.
Not income taxes.
Yeah.
50% of America, the bottom 50%, so half of America pays a combined 2.3% of the tax bill.
Oh.
They represent 10%, a little over 10% of the income, which is obviously a smaller portion of the income, but the portion of taxes they pay is only 1/5 of the amount of the earnings. So you say, well, how much this group of 50% of the population, how much of the tax revenue total do they represent? It's like 10.8. So do they pay 10% of the taxes? No, they pay 2.3. If you're poor or you're lower to middle class, you're not really paying taxes.
So
The rich pay the majority. 1% only represents 24% of all the revenue from taxes, or for earnings. Their earnings is 24% of the share, but they pay 45% or 46% of all the income taxes. And then the top 10% pays 76% of all the taxes. So you got a room of 100 people, 10 people are paying 3/4 of the bill for everybody else, and 50 people in the room aren't paying anything. Yet the ones that aren't paying anything are the ones that are bitching about the rich not paying their fair share. Which, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, I wanted to know if you think that they're actually going to go to jail.
Who's
Like
gonna
the people that are against Tom coming in, and
you know what? I hope they do.
I hope they do too.
If they say no one's above the law, that's what they kept saying about Trump on the bullshit charges of he didn't return his documents by the deadline, so he should go to jail for 200 years or whatever. No one's above the law. Okay, well, this is immigration law, and you're violating it. Whoa, whoa, whoa! I can't be held accountable. Sorry, dude. No one's above the law.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was hoping. There's got to be a turn in America where people start thinking like they used to, you know? Because like, a lot of the stuff in the last 4 to 9 years have just been Democrats ignoring the law.
I think you're going to see.
Sense.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see a lot of that change. I think that you're going to see. There's a lot of optimism right now with Trump being back in. There's people in New York wearing MAGA hats now, and it's like they're not afraid to show it. I think there was a big groundswell that flew under the radar that the pollsters and everyone else missed. Because people that live in these blue areas are afraid to speak their mind. Because if a liberal says I'm liberal, the Republicans, whatever, dude, shut up, you're an idiot.
You think this?
If you're a liberal and someone says they're conservative, you attack them, you key their car, you try to get them canceled and fired. So a lot of Republicans have just learned to just shut their mouths and keep quiet. And then when they open their mouths, it's at the ballot box. And that's what we saw. They did not see that coming. There was a red tidal wave that came out of nowhere. It was there all along if you knew what to look for. But the pollsters are picking up the phone to call people, and someone who's really conservative is like, I ain't talking to you, click.
Right, that's true.
So they had a very poor sampling.
You think this will go down in history, in American history, as like a big thing?
Yeah, I think you're seeing a seismic shift. And the thing that's going to seal it will be if there are results. If Trump does half the shit he says he does, and the economy's back on track, wars start cooling down, a lot of people are going to go, oh, like, I wasn't with him because I don't like him, but the results speak for themselves. Like, my job is more secure. I'm making more money. I'm,
Right.
I see my friends that were laid off found jobs. Prices have come down.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Gas has gone down.
crime's gone down. People are going to
Crime's
look
gone
around and go, "Yeah, I thought he was a tool and didn't like him and all, but fuck, I mean, my life's better, so let's keep rolling with that."
And maybe they'll realize the last 4 years that he was president, it wasn't him that was causing any kind of aggression. It was literally BLM,
Antifa, and then COVID.
Democrats,
Yeah.
COVID as well, yes. And it wasn't even that bad of a thing, COVID. I mean, it's bad, but I don't think it was as bad as the media portrayed it. And you know what's crazy? I don't know if I can say this on YouTube.
Say it, Jimmy.
It's just that, like, a lot of people that are saying, what about his COVID response? It was so bad. And then I'm like, what did you not like about his COVID response? All right. Did you not like his daily COVID briefings? Did you not like how he brought companies and truckers together? Did you not like how
he got the vaccines fast-tracked?
Project Warp Speed. Did you not like the fact that early on he said you can use hydrochloroquine and ivermectin?
Right.
So I was talking to a coworker and I was like, all those people that died, they're finding out that those two things, ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, could have
made a difference.
So who do you blame? You blame Trump for this, even though he said, hey, this would help? Or do you blame the media? The media has killed millions of Americans.
Yeah.
That's who I blame.
I mean, with regards to that, Donna got COVID, her and her mom. Somehow I avoided it. She got COVID a few months ago. And the doctor gave her that, whatever that drug is, they give you like right away. It's basically like the COVID version of Tamiflu, right?
Right.
Get out the way.
Oh, bitch.
So, had that, and it made her a little bit better for 2 or 3 days, and then it came back with a vengeance. Got worse.
Right.
She calls her doctor. Doctor gives her ivermectin. Cleared it up in 2.5 days. So, you know, Joe Rogan took heat for it, and they took heat for it at the time. Oh, it's horse warmer. That's not what ivermectin is.
There's a human form of it as well.
There is, and they forget that a couple years prior, a doctor got a Nobel Peace Prize for using ivermectin to treat malaria and other diseases other than what it was originally intended for.
Right.
They forget that a lot of drugs get repurposed. And instead of going to the cost of generating a new drug, it costs so much money to bring a new drug to market, on average like $6 billion. Because for every drug that makes it to market, gets through clinical trials, all the testing, FDA approval and all that, 10 of them failed somewhere along the way, didn't get the result, didn't get the approval. But all those R&D and testing money has to go somewhere, right? So I think I took the wrong road. I should have taken the next turn. Whatever.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that there's millions of people who died because of the media, and no one's going to pay the price for that. And I think that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, remember when it was the media telling us that the one-way stickers in the grocery store down each aisle was going to save lives?
Right.
And you're like, really? That's going to save lives. This surgical mask that says on the box does not protect from airborne particulates, does not filter airborne particulates, that's going to save me? How?
I hope something does happen to them. Like, I think it was Don Lemon. He was one of the ones. And
Chris Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo, that was the name I couldn't remember. And Rachel Madcow. Yep.
Yeah.
I hope they pay the price.
They won't. They're not accountable.
Yeah. You know, if this was in 1776, they would just be hanging them left and right.
Yeah.
We don't need
Well,
to. We don't need to. We don't need to.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gotten that far to begin with, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yep. True.
Yeah, it's a wacky world that we live in, dude.
You know what? And I've come to the conclusion that the last 4 to 9 years has been a government psyop, but I know you don't agree with that.
No, not even a little bit. You're off.
way over here.
Yeah, that's way over there. I'm
But
gonna
it
stay
could
right over
be.
here.
I mean, there was Project Mockingbird.
I don't know. I think it's just every once in a while the inmates get control of the asylum, and that's what we had for the last 4 years.
It's insane.
We had Biden, who got in because of Trump having to deal with COVID. Had COVID not happened, the economy would have been awesome. He would have stayed in office. Wouldn't be having this
Was the
conversation.
economy bad? There was a lot of people losing
At the
their
end.
jobs. But,
Because of COVID.
well, okay, let me have my
All the
first.
shutdowns.
Right, but who shut it down?
I didn't say Trump did it. I said it happened in the
Because of the shutdowns, I agree, but the Democrats did that.
Yes.
They shut everything down.
But, exactly. The Trump economy was amazing until COVID hit and Democrats shut down our major cities and states, and that killed the economy, and they did it around the world, so it wasn't just Democrats here. And so he took the hit. Had the economy been strong, it's very statistically unlikely that he would have not been reelected. When the incumbent sits on a really good economy, people don't want to rock the boat. But COVID opened the door, and the Democrats ran with it, the media went with it, and they used that as a political weapon.
So then, what's your theory about the 15 to 18,000 million people that didn't vote? I think it was millions.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? You've seen that little graph where everybody voted in 2020, and then like the regular percentage of people voted in 2024 and 16 and 12. So where do those people come from?
I don't know. Honestly, I can't claim election fraud. I don't know. I mean, the fraud that I've seen is with people trying to change the rules and fucking with the laws.
The laws.
And so I'm seeing someone, posting online about, well, I can't support Trump because he contested the results of 2020. He questioned the results. And I'm like, you guys still question 2016 and 2020?
Yep.
Why is that not a problem? And then the person responded, well, that's because the Supreme Court picked Bush. I'm like, you're retarded. 3 canvassing boards in Florida got caught changing the counting rules. Ballots that normally would have been rejected because it only had a dimple, it wasn't a full punch, or it had multiple dimples, or it came in after the deadline, those are normally thrown out in any other election. But when their guy came up short and they're like, oh, we might be able to squeeze 1,000 or 2 ballots out of here to make the difference, they started changing the rules after the fact. It was then that the Supreme Court came in and said, look, you have the right to change your counting methodology, but there's a deadline for that. You can't go into the election, everyone casts their ballots under this rule, and then you change it mid-game because your guy is losing. That was what the Supreme Court did. But I'm arguing with a person who's pissed at Trump for questioning the election while he is questioning the 2000 election that's already been laid to rest. And then because USA Today, Miami Herald, all of those went in after the fact, hoping that they were going to do a recount, and they were going to blow the lid wide open, and that the election was stolen. Think of the headlines. In every one of those papers that went in and did a recount, no matter what standards they used, Bush always came out a little bit ahead. And they were like, all right, But there's still people today that ignore that because they want to believe that somehow. But it's like you're saying Trump is bad because he questioned the results, while you are still questioning the results that have already been validated.
Yeah.
And then the whole Russian hoax thing. Oh, Russia. It's like it came out. That was a $7.3 million payment to Fusion GPS that Hillary knew about to create the Steele dossier that started that whole thing.
And that's just one thing. I always, when I see someone or post on like Twitter, X or something, someone will say, well, Trump's been known to lie like hundreds of times. That's all he does is lie. I'm like, okay, well, the people that told you that he lies are also the people that lied about Russia, the P-tapes, taxes. I mean, the fucking list is endless, and they're still going. There's not that many people. Now they're I guess a lot of the people from X that were Democrats and not really Democrats, I think they're bots. They just moved over to Blue Cry.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's why that this podcast, I stopped doing it for the longest time, and then this is just a one-off just because we're bored. It's the same thing. It's like you don't get the ratings on this stuff because everybody's already made up their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the conservative people watching this are going, yeah, and the Democrats are going, la 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 la. Nothing changes. You pick your team, you pick your tribe, you cherry pick your data, you ignore the data that disagrees with you, you skip past those 12 links to find the one on this page 2 that agrees with you, and you go, oh, here's my proof. And you ignore the other one. It's called confirmation bias.
Yeah. I agree. That's true. I didn't know that's why he stopped.
So
we could talk about anything, really.
Yeah.
Just don't know a lot.
So let's switch gears.
Uh-oh.
Trying to think if there's any other political stuff. I mean, that's just the stupid arguments I'm seeing about abortion. You can still get abortion. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And if you can't, well, go to a state that has it. That's what I got to do if I want to carry a gun. I got to go to a state that allows it. Why is that any different? You make lifestyle choices. Why live in a state that doesn't offer you what you want? If you can't afford to live in California, fucking move. Go to another state.
I mean, if you want abortion, I think I hear you saying. It's like me when I go to a track day. I go out of state and I hang out in the state. And maybe I'll go to the zoo. So if you're going to go get an abortion, you just go to New York and maybe you go to the zoo and have an abortion. Use it as a vacation.
I don't know that those are the same thing, really, but yeah. And we just lost 10 more viewers. That might be a low estimate, actually.
Now we're at -4.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. Oh, YouTube ad revenue.
That's funny.
My $300 check just went away. They're like, you owe us $72.
Okay, well, what do you want to talk about? Did the Georgia Gun Club open today? It's closed on Sundays, I think.
All I got is my little 380.
I wanted to get that T-shirt, that Unburdened T-shirt.
Oh, they're not open on Sundays. That was only on a Friday thing.
Oh.
Yeah, they're closed Sundays and Mondays. And they're probably out of them now, anyway. Aw. Too bad, Jimmy boy.
Oh, like it was a free T-shirt Friday thing.
That's what it was.
Oh, gotcha. Look at that truck.
Bet you it doesn't have a 4-cylinder.
No. Well, it's probably, look at that pipe on the back. It's probably a diesel.
No, I don't think so.
That's probably a gas. You're right. Anyway, go ahead.
So what do you think about the shift we're seeing in motorcycles that are kind of going towards more mid-size, like the whole revolution of the evolution of the super sport class being 765s, R9s.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like going away from the R1s and the 1000s. I think that the motorcycle companies just want to reach a broader audience because R9s and R7s are so comfortable. Nobody really needs an R1 on the road. I mean, the mid is fine. The mid power is fine. Nobody really likes to even ride an R6 on the road because
it sucks. I hate R6.
You have to get to the power band, and I do see the allure of it.
And it's this wide, very narrow.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's my interpretation of what's going on. It seems realistic, and I can't fault the manufacturers for doing something like that. It's going to get a lot of more people into bikes.
I think the value too. You look at the R9; it's got a proven motor, 6-axis IMU. Brembo Stylemas, you used to have to get like a Ducati S model to get those. You're getting nice suspension, TFT dash, quick shift, auto blip, steel braided lines up front, I believe. Like, macked out for 12.7. Like, that is a lot of bike for the money. And I think, you're right. It's so much more usable on the street. I like R1s. I like my 14, 1198, CBR 1000. I've had them all. And get up here to the twisties, it's like, what do you do with all that power?
Yeah, you can't.
You're not faster on your R1 up in the twisties up in the mountains than I am on my Street Fighter, even though you got 50 horsepower on me. I'm making maybe 130, 131 at the wheel. Stock, you're making 180 something. Like,
yeah, those big bikes that you're talking about, the R1, the S1000RR, those bikes are only really, really good for large, big tracks, like big tracks. So that's what, like maybe 10 max in the country. Luckily, we have Road Atlanta here in Barber.
yeah.
But that's it. That's the only time I ever have fun. Like, I take it to Tally, and I'm like, I'm just going to stick it in one gear and, like, lap people.
That's what I did on my CBR 1000.
Yeah.
I put it in second gear, and then occasionally I might kiss third for like 2 seconds.
Yep.
But basically, I just rode it around because I could go down to 35 miles an hour and up to 100 something in second, and it was like riding an electric bike. All I had to do was giving it gas or giving it brakes. I didn't have to shift. It was awesome.
But I'm not knocking that kind of happiness, because the happiness that you get on Barber and Road Atlanta on an R1, to me, is way more than buying a 600 and running 10 tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun on the back straight at Road Atlanta on my CBR 1000RR and on the 14. Like, it was it was just stupid fast.
Rocky.
But in the turns where all the action was at,
then you want a 600.
yeah, I mean, the 1000 was definitely better than the CX14 because it was more nimble. Like, it was closer to a 600 than the 14 was, as far as the smaller chassis and the weight. But yeah, it's like leader bikes are hard to manage up where we ride.
Yes.
Well, yeah, when you used to ride on the street. But I mean, seriously, like a Deals Gap. What does 200 horsepower do for you on Deals Gap?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
It doesn't even do anything on the Skyway.
Dude, some dude on a DRZ 400 is going to be right on your tail. Like,
only on the Dragon.
yeah, but think about when the twisties where the skill and the real fun is. It's like, I think I've matured enough to where I like horsepower. I'm not going to say it's not exhilarating. It is. It's a rush. But I'm like, it's another $5,000. It's more insurance. And when we get up to the twisties, it's like,
So you're saying the skill level is more for like an R9 than it is an R1 up in the mountains?
No, I'm just
Because I
saying
think it takes more skill to ride an R1 than it does an R9 anywhere.
if you want to ride it fast. But that's the thing. It's like, but if you got two equal skill riders going through Wolf Pen Gap, R9 versus R1, who do you think is going to be faster?
Oh, it's definitely not the R1.
It's a coin toss. And it probably might be the R9 would be a little quicker because it's just easier to manage. It's easier to go faster on a bike like that isn't trying to kick you off all the
tight
time.
turns, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the Skyway, that's going to be a little different. I don't think you'd have an advantage in the R9.
I don't think you'd have much of an advantage on the R1.
On the Skyway,
Yeah.
which it's huge twisties.
Yeah, but it's still all going to be about corner speed. The R1 might come off the turn a little bit harder, but the much lighter R9 will probably, or even the new Panigale V2. The new Panigale V2, the dry weight's like 380 something. The S model, I think, is like 382. It's like a street triple. It's down in like Ninja 300, 400 territory, but it's got 120 horsepower.
I was talking to someone yesterday at the shop, and they had this weird take on the V2s that it's weird. It's like it's not really Ducati, it's just Ducati's version of a bike that's dumbed down, that's cheaper than the V4, and then more people will buy it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's two things. They couldn't get the V2, the current V2, to be Euro 6 compliant, not without cutting horsepower. So they're like, all right, if we're going to have to cut up horsepower to make an engine compliant and be able to sell it in these countries, what if we come up with a new motor? Let's make the bike lighter. almost 40 pounds lighter. 40 pounds is a big difference.
That's a lot.
That's going to mean you can brake later because you got less weight to get stopped. Going back to the ZX14, I got horrific speed. And I would literally go, when Cameron was on my tail coming out of turn 7, and we would come out of the straight, I went, and I was a speck in the distance. And then he would catch me at turn 10A. Because I had to brake way sooner. Because I had a 580 pound bike plus me going a $170 plus, and I had to bring all that weight to slow it down. So he could way brake late and catch up to me again. And then flicking in and out of turns, he'd be right back on me in the chicane. Because I got this big fat bike, and he goes,
So you don't think it's gimmicky? You just think that they had to cut corners?
I think they had to.
Europe.
I think, yeah, for Euro 6 and probably California CARB compliance coming. There's the V4. I love the fact that they came out with a new V2 for the Panigale and the Street Fighter. They made it super light and nimble. The lighter you are, the less horsepower you need. And everyone just wants to focus on the number, and it's like there's other numbers than peak horsepower. There's weight, there's your drag coefficient, for higher speed aerodynamics. There's all kinds of numbers, and you got to look at all of them to get the real picture of what the thing is going to be capable of. And the biggest thing was everyone's talking about, oh, it's 33 horsepower. It's 33 horsepower less. I would never downgrade. Look at the lap times. The lap times are comparable. So ripping around a track, the fact that it can brake later, it can transition faster, and it can carry more corner speed, it's not really slower. In a straight line on the highway, might be a little slower. But if you're up playing here, which my tires are still saying cool, so I'm not going to push it right now. It's a cold day out. Still don't have heat in my tires. Although we could get some heat. But like, you talk about performance, this is how I can tell if someone's a good rider or not. If you're focusing on peak horsepower and that to you is slower, and you're ignoring the lap time, then you're just a highway hero. You're a squid. You're not. If all you care about is top speed, so you can brag and tell your buddy, oh, my top speed's 5 more than yours. My bike's faster, so therefore I am a better person. Like, that's what you're saying. But if your buddy spanks your ass on track on a lesser bike, are you still, like, that's what I don't get. You got to understand there's more going on than just a peak number. Porsche 911 beats cars. It has faster lap times than a lot of cars that make a lot more power. Why? Because it's super small, it's light as fuck, and it's got shit tons of grip for corner speed.
It does.
It's impossible to bust that back end loose. Nearly.
But once it breaks loose,
oh yeah, you're
crashing.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it only makes 335 horsepower. Mine makes 5. Okay, show me the lap time. Well, on the highway, okay. Well, how often are you doing top speed runs down the highway? At some point, you're going to jail or you're going to kill yourself. But when you're up here playing in the mountains, you're going up Blood Mountain, you go do a track day, I want the car that grips. It gives me the faster lap time. That to me is going to be more exhilarating than once in a blue moon I punch it on a straightaway. And that's why I'm thinking about the mid-size bikes. Honestly, if Suzuki would get their shit together and put some fucking electronics on the 750.
Yeah, that is strange. They don't have any electronics.
Nothing.
They're like, what the hell, dude? It's a bike that's gonna kill you.
It doesn't even have ABS. And I'm sorry, on the road in the real world, ABS is a good thing to have.
It is. What about the R6? The last years of the R6, did it have ABS?
I think it had ABS.
Oh,
I think
okay.
you could.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I went to Mountain Motorsports to look at the new CBR 600RR.
Mm-hmm.
Little more power than the old model. 6-axis IMU, complete digital TFT dash, auto blip, everything. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I get there, and I'm like, this doesn't look like... We're not getting it. It's only for Europe. Europe's got a really nice upgraded new look, winglets. It's a cool bike. And Hondas are good bikes. They run forever. But the old one's long in the tooth, and I'm like, eh. So the Cowie is, if I went for a 600 next time.
You get the 636.
Yeah, I get the 636. But even there, it doesn't have a IMU, and it doesn't have auto blip. It's only got upshift. They improved the dash and the plastics, and it's still a good bike.
You got quick shifter.
You have quick shift, no auto blip.
No auto.
And and that's good enough. But I'm like, if I'm buying a 2025 model, and that's the problem with the Suzuki 750, that's a 2012 bike. All they've done is change the damn colors. In fact, it makes less power than the old one because they had to add extra catalytic converters a few years ago to keep it compliant.
Right.
But it doesn't have ABS. And any idiot that says, you don't need ABS, shut up. If it's a dedicated race bike, fine.
Right.
If you live in the street where there's leaves and gravel and rain and people pulling out, you fucking want ABS.
Oh, yeah. That saved me a couple of times.
Yeah, and we're not new riders. You know, we're not Rossi, but I would say we're good riders. And absolutely ABS can save. Oh, learn proper technique. That only goes so far. Race bikes may not have ABS, but they got everything else. And on the street, it's not a carefully controlled, prepped surface.
Right.
You absolutely want that shit.
Plus, you put a lot more miles on the street. There's a lot more stuff that can happen.
Yeah, on a track, if there's debris in the track, they red flag it and clean it up. You know? I don't know, something old.
Beautiful.
But that's absolutely, you want that stuff. And Suzuki won't invest anything. They did do the 1000 a few years ago, but even that one's kind of getting long in the tooth. And the thing is, I don't really want another 1000. I mean, I won't say I won't get one, but I'm just like, eh. I think those super high revving, middle-sized bikes, at this point in my life, is kind of where the excitement's at.
They'll drop the R1 soon.
I think so. I think they're gonna come up with a V4.
But they've done weird stuff before, like earlier on, they wanted to introduce an 800. I mean, not just Yamaha, but like all of them. Cowie.
Well, remember, because MotoGP was 800 cc's for a few years.
And then they didn't. So.
But I think MotoGP is going back, and they're going to have some restriction in place. Because the MotoGP bikes are getting way too fast.
220 horsepower?
Well, no, with more than that, 300.
What?
Those bikes are probably 300 horsepower.
Oh my god.
Dude, some of them are going 225 miles an hour on some of the straights, the Ducatis. They're faster than Formula One cars.
Jesus.
It's absolutely insane.
Where we are.
And so, you're going to see a bunch of changes made. I would love to see like an R1 being like an 800cc V4, high revving V4. How awesome would that be?
A what?
Like a 800, like a whatever replaces the R1, being like a V4 configuration, and a like the 800cc, but it revs to like 15.5 or something crazy like that.
What is the R7 and the R9? Are they 2 cylinders?
The R7 is 2 cylinders. The R9 is a triple. 800. It's the MT-09 SP motor. That's a great motor. Really torquey, really punchy. Loves to wheelie. It sounds good with a pipe. Triples always sound good. Like that's going to be the R9 is likely going to be my next bike. It's the same price as the ZX6R. The ZX6R makes a couple more horsepower peak. but the R9 will stomp it everywhere in the mid-range, and it's got the way better electronics package, better brakes, and I think it looks pretty badass. With the built-in winglets and stuff.
So, let me go in a different direction here. A stock last few years R6. How fast do you think they go? Like top speed, max?
Top speed? Are you talking about modded or stock?
No stock.
Stock? High 150s.
High 150s.
If you
modded.
I don't mean built. I mean just, hey, you put a slip-on on it, you put a air filter, and you tune it. 160, 161, maybe 162 on a good day. That's all they've got out of them. I know people are going to argue, mine does 180. Shut up, it doesn't. Your speedo's way off. Put it on the dyno. When you go to get your ECU flashed and tuned, put your bike on the dyno, and when the dyno says 100 miles per hour on that screen, look at your speedometer and see how off it is. My R6 was just over, or my R1 was a 2021, so new, latest electronics, all the high-tech stuff. It was just over 6% off from the factory. So 180 on the dash was like 171 or whatever on actual. All bikes are off. So an R6 is quick up top, but again, where are you going then? And all that power, all that little bit of power it has up top, I'm telling you, going through twisty roads. When you watch people drag racing like on the street, like, hey, let's just go, boom, 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 from a dead stop. The MT-09 walks away easily from the R6 every fucking time. It's not until like 120 miles an hour that the R6 starts to catch back up.
Did not know that.
So how often on the road are you realistically going over $120?
How does the R9 compare to the 765? That one that you had?
More torque, little less horsepower, but more torque. So it fairly well.
Well, the R9 had more torque, or will have more torque.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're going MT-09 SP versus Street Triple RS, they're similar weight, they're similar performance. The MT-09's a bit more punchy and torquey in the mid-range, so it feels like it's got more grunt, but when you really rev it out, the 765 will rev out higher and give you a little more power up top. So they're roughly in the same performance envelope. One's a little better on the lower end, one's a little better on the top end. But overall, riding around the street, very similar.
Do you think the tariffs is going to hurt the motorcycles? Because they're all foreign?
No, because I don't think...
Oh, because you think they're going to use it as a tool?
No, I don't think Trump's just going to lay tariffs on everything that Americans buy. It's not going to do that.
Okay.
Don't you worry, Jimmy. Daddy's got you. Trump will take care of you.
Daddy Trump will take care of us.
That's right.
Man.
He'd do a lot better job than senile Joe pooping in his pants.
Well, he wasn't the
world
one that
burns.
did it. I honestly think that there's maybe a few people behind the scenes that just do.
Well, they were. That's true. Joe wasn't. Well, Joe was responsible in the fact that because he wasn't running the country, other people that we don't know and didn't elect were.
Yeah, because he's not doing it now.
No.
Somebody else is.
No. His wife's been helping him in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're just running down the clock, dude. He'll probably be in a home or something before too long.
The world has gone fucking crazy. Well, America's government has. Strange.
The fact that we had this guy for years and they covered it up and don't think it was a problem. It's like, dude, the leader of the free world. What do you if it weren't for the U.S., what do you think is holding back Russia and China from doing whatever the fuck they want and just taking shit over? We're the only thing and maybe NATO, but even then, NATO's only because we're in it.
Right. We leave.
Right. So if we're out, the rest of the world is completely boned. And all these people sitting in Portugal and all these countries thinking, oh no, we're above it. Dude, Russia will be knocking on your goddamn door. China will be taking over Japan and Taiwan and the world's freaking semiconductor supply. All that stuff.
If he gets into office and he pulls us out of NATO, I wonder if Putin's going to go, you see this? This was a British bomb we told you not to shell us with.
What?
Boom.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so Putin said that any attack into Russia, inside Russia, it's not going to be just Ukraine he's going to be pissed at, but where the ammunition came from.
Whatever. At the end of the day, what's Russia really going to do?
I don't know. Probably nothing.
He's not a match for the U.S. and NATO. At the end of the day, he can grumble all he wants.
He is if we come out. That's what I was saying. If we leave, then he can be a bully.
I don't think we'll leave NATO. Trump only threatened the U.S. to leave NATO.
Right.
Because he wanted them to pay their fair share.
I get it, yeah.
He's like, why are we paying for all of their safety? Russia's on their doorstep, not ours.
Right.
Like, so he's like, take a little bit more have some more skin in the game. It's your safety. Like, we can't just be your babysitter. He wasn't wrong for saying that.
Are you going to do any track days this year? The next in 2025?
Yeah, I would like to do one or two. We'll see if I do it on the Duck or wait till I get the R9. I'm probably going to get an R9.
Okay.
Because I already got a trade-in offer for my Ducati for $14,500. So I could trade that in and have like $8 or $9 grand. I mean, I could basically almost have
it on the other one. Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me.
Because I don't owe much on it, so.
Well, that's cool.
So yeah, I'll be back on a Yamaha. I can get it flashed, put a pipe on it, have it sound right, drop a little more weight off of it.
You gonna take it to Chris?
Yeah. I'll have Chris do the ECU flash and tune, and see what pipe and air filter he recommends, and just do it. And then like Kent set up the suspension, and then I think I'll have a really good street track bike. I just have to sit on it and see if it's physically big enough or if I would be cramped on it. That's what's going to determine whether I buy it or not. Spec wise and price, it's perfect. It is the perfect street and occasional track day bike.
Yeah, I guess you do have to sit on it. You know, you remember I let Alex borrow the R1?
Oh yeah.
So he said that it was pretty terrifying and it was a little too small for him.
The R1 is a bit small. The Healy bars help. Gives you a little more room. And you also have rear sets on it, right?
No.
Oh.
Stock.
But you have them in the down position, or they not moved?
They're not adjustable.
Yeah.
I just gotten used to it.
Yeah, the R1 is a little cramped. I found it.
And
it's amazing. But
the R1S, obviously.
I think we're pretty much done for vlogging now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, everybody. I don't know if you found this remotely interesting. Hopefully the audio comes out good.
Yeah.
Other than that, say bye, Jimmy.
Bye, Jimmy.
I gotta figure out where the fucking button is. It's like finding the clitoris. Never really sure where it is.
Is it up at the top?
I think it's right there.